But when some ordinary people or some anarchists decide to occupy a property owned by one of them and demand that it be handed over to Ukrainian refugees, the response of a former police officer is, well, we've got to go and bang heads together because of people. We know what people like that are like. And that phrase, people like that, popped into my mind yesterday when I read what I think is the single most disgusting story I have ever read regarding police interaction with citizens. And it's not a competition. This isn't top trumps, and we're all different, and nobody died. So there are worse stories, according to some measures. But just in the context of the chain of command, rather than the individual officer doing something egregious and possibly then having help covering it up from his colleagues, the chain of command, the number of humans involved in the process that saw a 15-year-old girl strip searched at her own school. I won't go any further until I warn you that this is a story about police. I would use the word brutality. It's a story about a young woman being strip searched by police officers, and it's a story about racism. So if any of those things are unlikely to bring back unpleasant memories for you, then consider this a trigger warning, okay? I think we're reaching a stage now where people who a couple of years ago would go, oh, trigger warnings, what a bunch of snowflakes. I think we're reaching a stage now where people understand what they are and what they do. A very good example on Nick's show, just towards the end of his program, when a woman who had experienced similar to this child, this 15-year-old child, phoned him in a state of very high and completely comprehensible emotion because it had brought back memories. It had triggered memories of something truly horrible that had happened to her. So this is your trigger warning. Because the phrase I was about to read out is one that almost makes me want to puke. A black child was subjected by police to a strip search at her London school that involved exposure, as trigger warning established, of intimate body parts, which means she had to prove that she hadn't hidden anything inside her. A 15-year-old girl in London in 2020. Story's only just emerged now. I have no idea how this could have happened. The details have only emerged because the child's mother has understandably kicked off. The child is still in pieces. The phrases she used about having a box where she felt safe taken away from her will make you want to weep, I'll tell you now. And the experience has only now been reported as a result of a safeguarding review initiated by Hackney Council after the incident at the end of 2020. I can't read you the bits. I can't read them to you. They're printed in a national newspaper today. I read the inquiry yesterday. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll have seen that I retweeted a link to the entire report, but where 1, 2, 3, what the fourth paragraph of today's Guardian coverage makes me, and it makes me want to hit someone. I don't think I've ever said that to you before on the radio. It makes me want to hurt someone responsible for doing this to this child. It's absolutely unbelievable. And what I need some help understanding is how the chain of command could have delivered this aberration, this disgrace. Let me tell you what happened, okay? Police were called by teachers who told the Review that they believed she was smelling strongly of cannabis. I can add some detail from the news report today because, as I say, I read the full report from the council last night. And the grounds for what happened next include the fact that she's friends with somebody who had previously been excluded from the school for drugs-related offences. Oh, I'm a 50-year-old white man who went to public school. I was excluded from school for drugs-related offences, excluded permanently. So that's the rationale for doing what they did to this girl. They suspected she was carrying drugs, so they searched her and didn't find any. They then contacted the officer who... the school's liaison officer. I don't know whether he or she is on site or whether or not, but because of COVID and because of lockdown, the officer was only on the end of a phone line. The officer wasn't actually in place. And they suggested, I kid you not, phone the police because they think that a 15-year-old schoolgirl smells of cannabis. Mate, I can't go anywhere in London at the moment without smelling cannabis. I mean, literally anywhere. The smell of cannabis it's like the sound of Bow Bells. It invades every single corner of the capital. But this police officer advised these teachers to call the police. 4 officers turned up because a 15-year-old girl smells of cannabis. 4 officers turned up, 2 of whom were women, and they carried out the search of the girl while teachers remained outside the room, and her mother was not contacted. It doesn't say how many teachers. It doesn't say whether this had escalated to the head teacher's office. You presume that if there's 4 police officers marching into the building, the head teacher is going to at least know about it and at worst approve of it. I don't know how they could possibly have conceived. Think about your own children. Unless you're white, in which case this is never going to happen to you. How could they have thought that contacting the mum was unnecessary? I can't read you the 4th paragraph. I don't know whether I should. I don't know whether I need to strike you with the sheer horror of this story that happened in our capital city at December of 2020. But I'll tell you now, this poor child is in therapy. She's self-harmed and she remains in a state of emotional torture. Someone walked into the school where I was supposed to feel safe, took me away from the people who were supposed to protect me, and stripped me naked. That's a detail I will share with you. While I was on my period, she was required to remove her sanitary towel in order to demonstrate that it wasn't hiding cannabis. Cannabis. She added that she doesn't know if she will ever feel normal again. And I have a horrible suspicion that what is remarkable about this story is that it got reported and these scumbags got caught. Still in uniform, probably. Your daughter gets harassed in the street today. God forbid she gets attacked. You call the police. Could be one of these people that turn up. Could be one of these 4 officers who thought it was fine that turn up to deal with your daughter's complaint. The Metropolitan Police apologised yesterday for what a senior officer described as the child's truly regrettable treatment. Truly regrettable treatment. A separate investigation from the Independent Office for Police Conduct, probably the busiest people in this country at the moment, is underway. I don't know where to start on this. School staff deferred to the authority of the police, apparently. There is a line in the report that suggests that there is a habitual failure of police officers to recognise the real age of black people because they often look older than they really are, and that might have been part of the police officers' thought. It's a school, just ask what year she's in. She's 15. Do you know the Daily Mail today is getting angry about that man who wrote a report denying that there's any institutional racism in this country, having an honorary degree taken away from him? That's what the Daily Mail, the best-selling newspaper in the country, is getting cross about today. The man who wrote a report almost to order for Boris Johnson said, no institutional racism here, lads. You will carry on as you are. It's all good. It's all good. Don't go down that woke road. And this is happening in December of 2020 in the capital city of this country. The mother gave a variety of statements during the interview, said her daughter was searched by the police, was asked to go back into the exam without any teacher asking her about how she felt, knowing what she had just gone through. I don't know who I am angrier with, the police or these so-called teachers. This makes me sick, says the mum. The fact that my child had to take her sanitary towel off and put the same dirty towel back on because they would not allow her to use the restroom to clean herself. 11:16 is the time. Remember yesterday morning when I said to you that I was 50 years old before I realised that my experience of policing was privilege. My experience of interacting with the police was privilege. Even on the occasions when I was a big enough idiot to get arrested, my experience was privilege. And of course it was influenced by racism, as this report has found. Racism that, of course, according to Boris Johnson's government, doesn't exist.